What's up, everybody? Today I want to talk about a film from 2023 called Five Nights at Freddy's. All right, everybody. So, just a quick summary of the story. The story is that we are following a troubled security guard named Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson. And Josh is in a really tight spot. He's trying to find work. He's having a lot of problems with some personal things that are going on. And we find out that he is an older brother who his younger brother was abducted when he was a child, and he also now has a younger sister, and he is the legal guardian to his younger sister Abby. And he is currently dealing with a custody battle between himself and his aunt, and the aunt is trying to get custody, mainly for the money, at least from what the film is saying. We also see Matthew Lillard in this movie, who plays William, and he is the job agency agent for Mike, trying to get him some work. And he lets him know about this pizzeria that has long gone out of business and now needs a security guard to patrol it and keep troublemakers out, and to keep it from being trashed. So that's the general idea. Just a quick summary of the story before we get really diving into the pros and cons of this film. All right, so the pros section of the film. My personal pros of this. One thing is the movie's under 2 hours long. Hour and 50 minutes, always a positive in my book. Love that. Another pro, in my opinion, is I like Matthew Lillard. I think he's a really good actor. I've seen him in quite a few things like 13 Ghosts, Scooby-Doo, Scream, a few other ones. Really awesome to see him in this film. So that, to me, instantly another pro. Now, continuing on with the pros, I also like the story. The story is not anything great or out of this world or anything like that, but it's pretty simple, easy to follow. They kind of really did a good job going into the whole horror mystery, which is what this film's actually categorized as, a horror mystery. And they did a good job with the whole mystery thing, because I don't know anything about these games. I've never played them. I've heard of them. I'm very unfamiliar with anything from this franchise, so this is actually my first real dive into the Five Nights at Freddy's story. So I don't know if any of this is actually relevant to the video game or not. If anybody knows, you can let me know down in the comment section down below. But the story was not difficult to follow. It's kind of cool. I like how they set up the characters. They set up what's going on in this guy's life. And then, you're kind of progressing through, and you slowly start to see some strange things happening. You start to kind of wonder if it's him losing his mind a little bit, or if it's actually really happening. And then I like how they start to kind of reveal some of the twists and the turns. I don't want to spoil the film. I really, really try not to put any spoilers in these, because, I don't know. I mean, granted, yes, this movie is already like 3 years old, but I mean, you might not have watched it, so I don't want to ruin this for you, because everyone watches films at their own different pace. So I don't want to do that to anybody. But there is some really nice like layers starting to become unraveled. You can kind of see it coming. It's not like it's like a huge shock, but it's still nice and well paced, I think. Another positive, I love how these characters look. I think they did a great job with the animatronics, or the costumes for the animatronics. I mean, I think they look fantastic. This film did a very good job, in my opinion, with telling a pretty simple story with a little bit of mystery to keep you going. There's that tiny bit of horror elements. Also, you kind of get that nostalgia like rush of because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so you kind of get that rush of Chuck E. Cheese back in the day, and a couple other like copycat type of restaurants and fun zones that like kids would play at. This kind of brought me back when you see all the games being played, and seeing like the animatronics moving around and the pizzeria and stuff. Really cool. You see the training video, which I thought was neat. So they did a really good job. And in the same token, they also did a really good job of showing what it looks like abandoned. So it's kind of like almost like two sides of the coin there, where you kind of really appreciate and remember what it was like when you were a child growing up in that time, if you're as old as I am, and seeing all your fun like type of like Chuck E. Cheese type places that used to do this kind of stuff. And then you kind of look at it how it stands today, where a lot of those places did close down and they went away, and it kind of brings you almost like I guess like a sadness, like you see them abandoned now, and this is kind of what it looks like. So kudos to the film for that. I really liked what they did. Another thing that I was actually a fan of was I like that because this is rated PG-13, they didn't overdo it. They didn't, at least in my opinion, they didn't make anything too gory, too scary, too anything. They did a good job of like kind of building up that tension, especially for a younger audience because they know that people from all ages are probably going to be interested in this film. So they don't want to start, making it like rated R, for example. So they really did I think a really fine job of kind of balancing that horror, but not too scary and not too like inappropriate for a younger audience, but still being entertaining enough for an older audience, such as myself. And one last thing, I think that the song selection for this movie was so good. They picked "Talking in Your Sleep" by the Romantics, and that's what they have the animatronics play. I thought that was such a great choice for this film. And even the little like jingle that they play in the beginning, where they're kind of like going through the beginning credits, I thought that was cool. I think that might actually be the theme from the game, but don't quote me. Either way, I thought the music was really good. I thought the atmosphere was really good. The set design, the acting was really well. A lot of positives in my opinion. I was happy to see a lot of this stuff. So really, really cool. All right, and now we're to the cons section of the film, and I don't even like to call it cons because if anything, I feel like this is just tiny nitpicks. To be 100% honest with you guys, but one of them is, I guess technically it's tied into the story. Like when the animatronics start to come more to life, they end up, like for example, one of them, Freddy, he ends up leaving the pizzeria and goes to like Mike's house and ends up coming back and bringing Abby with him, and it's kind of funny the way that they did it because he like uses an Uber and stuff, but it's like you know kind of ridiculous and a reach. It's like so this animatronics using Uber to get to the place to come back, and I don't know how he's paying for Uber or anything like that. Once again, very tiny nitpick. Like it's not even really a con. I just thought it was kind of funny and kind of ridiculous. I guess any way you gotta, make the story tie in is how you're gonna do it, right? Another thing too is this is kind of in the same ballpark with pretty much most horror movies, but this is a giant animatronic, and yet they make them like do that whole thing where they're not there 1 second, then they're there, and it's already hard to believe that that would happen with a person or like some kind of, I mean, I guess a creature you can maybe kind of excuse it, but these are animatronics. Like, I understand that there's some kind of like spiritual possession going on, but at the end of the day, they're still these giant, clunky robots. So for them to be able to go from point A to point B in a flash like that, a little bit of a stretch once again, just to kind of feel like it's more of a horror film. If you put like a Jason in there or like a ghost, it's different. I get it, but you're telling me that these animatronics are possessed, and even if they're possessed, they still have to move, and you still have this giant, somewhat heavy robot type thing. I mean, because that's what an animatronic is. It's pretty much like a robot, and it's kind of going from point A to point B really, really quick, almost like there's superpowers there. And something being possessed doesn't mean it wouldn't move. I mean, I'm not a ghost expert, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like it would still move. If it moved really quick, you would hear it, and if it didn't move really quick, like, you would see it have to struggle to move, if that makes any sense. And then just the last thing, with Abby, she continues calling them her friends, and you'll understand why as you play the story. But there's certain things that are happening that I feel like most people would realize that these things are not really your friends. They're kind of mean and kind of aggressive. Like, yes, I understand the story. Like, they're friendly to her, they're playing with her, they want her to join them. I understand all that. But then there's a couple things that like happen in the movie, and you kind of just scratch your head and you're like, I mean, I know you're a little girl, but you don't see this. Like, this is kind of weird and not really something a friend does. So maybe they're not your friends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Once again, very, very nitpicky in my opinion. I'm just throwing something out there because I want to be honest. I just want to tell you guys exactly how I felt when I watched this film. And I would be lying if I said that these things didn't come into my head and if these things weren't a tiny bit of a problem. But once again, tiny bit. I can't even call them cons. They're more like just little nitpicks, from my opinion. All right, so now we're at the conclusion part. This is my personal thoughts of the film overall. So this film got from Rotten Tomatoes, with the critics review, it got like a 30%, and with the fan or the viewers view perspective, it got like an 80 or something like that. I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see it. It's one. This is one of those films that the critics just don't get what the fans are seeing and what the fans love about it. And for somebody who's never seen anything about this show, or I mean this franchise, I don't know a lick of this franchise, I actually really enjoyed this film overall. I thought they did a great job. I think they didn't overstay the welcome. I think the acting was fine. I think the animatronics looked great. I think the music selection was great. The story was not that difficult to follow. And this movie actually made me want to check out the video games. Now, granted, I haven't done that yet, but I'm just saying, this movie definitely made me want to check out the games. I think that they did a really good job. I'm going to have to side with the people on this one and not the critics. I really enjoyed this film. So that being said, I think I'm going to have to actually give this one a 4.5 out of 5. I actually really liked this movie. I did not think I was going to like it this much. I can absolutely see myself sitting down watching this one again. It was really enjoyable, and it was a great introduction to something that I've never experienced. Like I said, it actually did its job. It told a great story. It was enjoyable. It was fun. It was entertaining, and it made me want to check out their other media, which is their video games. I think they have like 5 of them. So they did their job. I mean, that's usually what a film is meant to do. It's to bring fans, give fans their fan service and show them what they loved about the franchise to begin with, and it's to make newcomers want to check out the rest of the stuff. So that being said, guys, that's it for me. I'll catch you on the next one. Later.